Reddit is a great place to join in discussions and post interesting stuff, whether it be real life situations, paranormal activity, or just day-to-day stuff. We've used Reddit on a number of occasions, as there can be lots of interesting stuff in the different subreddits on the site that are dedicated to a variety of topics. Most are pretty mundane and normal stuff, while others are just weird. But then there are those that we're not sure how people get away with. In this video we'll take a look at a few of the more obscure and disturbing subreddits, some that will make you question what's going on in people's heads. So as always, hit those lights, sit back, and enjoy. Are reborn doll cringe? Normal dolls can be creepy enough, and many people have phobias of them, while reborn dolls is even creepier. If you really want to be freaked out, deformed or altered reborn dolls are next level, and the reborn doll cringe subreddit is full of them. This subreddit is a strange one. It's a mixture of creepiness and sadness. At first glance it looks like it's just people posting pictures of horrifying or disfigured reborn dolls. But it's worth remembering that reborn dolls are popular with women who have lost a child, either to death or miscarriage, and sometimes they use these realistic looking dolls to help them with their grief, and often get a doll made to be a likeness of a dead child. Although to those on the outside this may appear odd, it is comforting and helps them overcome the loss of their child. One doll who appears regularly on Reborn Doll Cringe may fit into that category. Her name is Britton Rose, and she has an almost cult following. She even has her own subreddit, Our Team Britain. Now, she's not creepy to look at, and apparently her mother takes her around to therapy sessions in care homes, along with her siblings, to help adults with dementia. She also does skits showing the doll being naughty or doing silly things. Her mum mostly posts to Facebook, and it's her fans that upload Britton's antics to Reborn Doll Cringe. But Britton Rose is in the minority of cutesy dolls on this subreddit, and most of the dolls are grotesque, and it seems not everyone who's into reborn dolls is a grieving mother. Some just have a fascination with these creepy looking dolls. There are dolls on the site that have obviously been altered to look as horrific as possible. Some dolls are even offered for sale, and go for some pretty high prices. The mixture of grief, replacement and horror makes this subreddit both fascinating and downright creepy, and it spawned more serious subs for reborn fans, such as our Alternative Reborns and our Reborn Dolls, that feature reborn mums showing off their cute lifelike dolls in various poses and outfits. I guess if reborn dolls are your thing, then those subs are just for like-minded people sharing thoughts and photos of their reborns. However, Reborn Doll Cringe has an altogether creepier, even demonic vibe to it. And after spending some time there, I'm sure you'll agree. Just take a look at some of these dolls featured in the posts. Are creepy videos? The internet is full of creepy videos, and we spend hours searching and analysing them. Most of them are buried in the vastness of YouTube or other platforms that nobody sees. But Our Creepy Videos allows some of those weird, creepy, and outright odd videos to surface. This sub has nowhere near the following of Our Creepy, but it gets regular contributors and features a bizarre collection of the most out there videos, especially if you filter to creepy or paranormal. We do urge caution with some of the stuff, but here is a selection of videos we can show you.
looking at Oscar, the first human modular prototype that is able to live in various setups. What's going to happen is that I'm going to connect the brain to the heart module to activate the blood circulation. Now, the lung is going to start breathing. You can see both organs are now collaborating. I can add a kidney module. And if I add a limb module, I start actuating the organism to move. Now it's looking for the optimal temperature, which is 37 degrees. If I add another limb, Oscar will recognize it and beneficiate from new possibilities.
I'm fine. Can I go now?
R Cursed Images. This subreddit, R Cursed Images, is a strange one, and it spawned a raft of other cursed image subreddits, including cursed memes, cursed videos, mildly cursed images, etc. A cursed image is defined as an image, usually a Photoshop, that is so strange or disturbing that it's hard to believe anyone could come up with such a thing. And because it's so obscure, it prompts questions about its actual existence. In some cases, the image can be something mundane that shows a strange out-of-place anomaly. Now, Reddit isn't the only place you can find such images. There are plenty of other platforms that have dedicated forums for cursed images. The rules for this subreddit include no images where death or gore is the main focus, no obviously photoshopped images, and only post images that are cursed. However, we aren't sure they are following their own rules, as there is some pretty disgusting stuff on this sub. Some of it even blurred out with a warning that it's so graphic. But we've picked a few of the creepiest, stranger images that have appeared here over the years. And if you're into strange, creepy, and sometimes grotesque images, then this subreddit is for you. R Paranormal Encounters. R Paranormal Encounters is not as well known as R Creepy or R Paranormal, but it still has a treasure trove of supposedly true stories about people who think they are being haunted or experiencing paranormal activity. The difference with this subreddit is there is not much video spam, and it seems to be mostly truthful accounts of strange sightings and experiences. We'll give you an example. This was posted recently by IcyTel8518. The poster told of an encounter that happened in 2012 when she lived in an apartment on the 14th floor with her husband and their dog. It was a beautiful sunny day and she was cleaning the room whilst her husband was in the kitchen when something caught her eye. She looked to the side and saw a man walking through her living room towards the front door. He was wearing a suit and a hat. He had no hair or eyebrows, and her first thought was that they were being burgled. But she soon realised how ridiculous that idea was, since they were on the 14th floor, and he would have no way of climbing through the window. But as that thought entered her head, she suddenly felt a connection to the intruder's thoughts. He didn't say anything to her, but she realised that he really needed to go through the place. He had no choice. He needed to do something very important. He had been careless, and she had seen him. But it didn't matter, because who would she tell? Who would believe her? The woman said that it felt to her that the man saw her as a nobody, like an insect or something. After the connection was broken, the woman ran into the living room, but the man was gone. It was as if he had walked through a closed door. The woman called out to her husband to ask if he had seen the man, but he hadn't. This left her very confused. However, at that point, the couple heard the sound of their dog huddled under the chair crying, shaking and distressed. He had obviously seen the man as well. The poster asked Redditors what they thought she had experienced, likening the man to a time traveller. However, in the comments, it was clear that most people believed she had encountered a man in black and urged her to research the subject, whilst others likened her experience to the fictional Mothman prophecies. The poster replied, "I also feel that he should be from another dimension. That's why it was so scary. For years I wanted to expose it somewhere, but honestly, I was a little afraid of him coming after me." Let's not meet. Now, this list wouldn't be complete without mentioning Let's Not Meet. It's probably the most well-known subreddit on this list, and almost certainly the creepiest. We could dedicate an entire video or documentary to this sub. It's dedicated to real encounters with stalkers, and it features legitimate stories of people who have either been creeped out by a weirdo following their every move, or whose bizarre behaviour disturbed them so much that they felt compelled to post what is happening, or has happened to them. As with most subreddits, it has rules and does not include sexual assaults, kidnaps or murders, as, believe it or not, there are specific subreddits for those crimes. The stories on Let's Not Meet are all about what ifs and lucky escapes from a variety of real situations that make you wonder if you should trust anyone, especially if they seem too good to be true. It also makes you think about similar encounters where the people involved didn't live to tell the tale. What makes this one so creepy is we can all relate in some way to the situations the storytellers end up in. We'll give you a brief example of what goes on in Let's Not Meet. Now, we aren't going to read it word for word, as we do not want to break the sub's rules, but you'll get a taste of the kind of thing posted to the site, and can spend hours searching around. This one was called Roommate Wanted, Female Only. And it all began when a woman searched Craigslist for a room to rent and found an ad titled Roommate Wanted, Females Only. The occupant listed herself as a 23-year-old college student who wasn't comfortable living with any males. The rent was quite cheap, so the woman sent an email and arranged a viewing. The viewing was arranged for 8 PM that evening, and when the woman arrived at the house, there was a note on the door saying, "Door broken, use back door." She walked around the house to the back door. All seemed fine at first, although she did notice the garden was a bit unkept. When she knocked on the back door, she was slightly taken aback when an older man answered it. She was expecting a young woman. At first, she thought she had the wrong house, but the man reassured her it was the right house, and that the occupant was out and he was the landlord. He seemed pleasant enough, so the woman agreed to look around the house with him. However, that's when the red flags began to show. Firstly, the guy looked scruffy and unshaven, as if he was living rough. And secondly, the only light on in the house was in the kitchen. As they walked around the house, the woman noticed there was no furniture. She also wondered why the man was hurrying her along, and seemed reluctant to leave the lights on long. There was also a room that the landlord wouldn't let her see. He told her that it was the occupant's room and he didn't want to invade her privacy. As they walked down the hallway into the living room, the woman noticed the front door had a plank nailed across it saying broken. She started to get creeped out at this point, so decided to wrap up the walkthrough and politely leave. But as she was saying her goodbyes, the man perked up and said he'd forgotten to show her the basement. For some bizarre reason, the woman agreed to look at the basement. The man opened the door and beckoned the woman to go first into the pitch-black basement. But just as she was about to walk through the door, she got a text. At the same time, she heard a random car park in the front of the house. Realizing she was in danger, the woman thought on her feet and pretended the text is a phone call and answered the phone. She shouted loudly, "Hey, yeah, are you here? I'll come out from around the back and let you in. It's great, you have to see it." At this point, the woman maneuvers herself around the landlord and walks out of the back door. Once outside, she sprints to her car and speeds away. When she got home later that day and told her mother and brother everything that had happened, they called the police. The police took her statement and went to investigate, and in the meantime, the Craigslist post had been removed. It turned out that the house had been foreclosed on over 6 months earlier, and the property had been abandoned. When the police investigated, they found that the closed room the landlord didn't want her to look in was where the man had been sleeping rough. There was a pile of old dirty blankets, rotten food, and empty gallon jugs everywhere. More eerily was he had plastered ripped up pages of pornography magazines all over the walls. However, the really scary thing was in the basement. The man had tied a thin piece of fishing twine at about shin level across the stairs about halfway down. The basement was empty except for a pile of old blankets, a broom handle wrapped in leather belts, and a small box with a few rolls of assorted duct tape. Again, we strongly advise you stay away from this subreddit at night. So that's it for this video. We hope you've enjoyed. Now we know Reddit has a bit of a bad reputation for not being the most reliable source of information, and we can 100% agree with that. However, it is a fun platform, and if you want us to cover it more, then we certainly will. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next video.